done on creating a new model for the branch rules. And in fact, after some additional done on creating a new model, echoing. Can anyone else hear that?
Does it still echo, or did it stop?
It stopped, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Anyway, so Vasily and Joe have been working together, and they have now reverted to the idea of using the original model and extending it. So I guess the question to this group is...
Sorry, did you say they do want to use the original database?
They've now gone back to wanting to use the original model. So that's okay, because the work that was done so far was exploratory, and in fact that merge request would be closed and then new ones slid out of it. So they'll just pivot to Joe will pivot to extending the existing model. But the question is, do we do that now, or do we wait? You know, once we deliver this first endpoint, do we... here's Joe now.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Joe. You know, I'll just step back, because I was just talking about the branch rules, and in fact, you're the expert.
Yep.
So I was just saying that to do the well, you know what? Why don't you go ahead, Joe? And
yeah. So okay. So a bit of background. So originally, when we started doing the branch rules MVC, we made a couple of assumptions that we're now believing are actually incorrect. So we originally assumed that the approval rules for merge requests on a project level could not be assigned to a branch, but it turns out that's actually been implemented fairly long time ago and is now enabled on GitLab.com. And also, we believe we're adding more features to what exists currently, not just reorganizing. So at this point, I have actually made quite a lot of changes and added a bunch of models like branch rule, a bunch of associated models that essentially are replicating what protected branch does. However, now we've had this discussion on the issue, suggesting that we scale back the MVC a bit, and due to the assumptions that we've now invalidated, we actually think that it's possible to reuse the protected branch system and just reorganize it very slightly and create this endpoint. So essentially what we want to do is abandon the changes that I've done for now and create this endpoint as a read-only endpoint. And in the once we do the validation, we can probably build on top of that rather than going down this whole re-architecting idea. So it should save a lot of work, and we should end up with, you know, a very similar system.
Which is great. The boring solutions are the best ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess you know, Michael and Torsten, do we have a feeling as to, you know, should Joe immediately start working on the other endpoints and the model, or do we want to hold after the first one is delivered and wait for further advice?
I think maybe we can first go to the question, what and how can we validate the intermediate super minimal MVC?
Yeah.
What answers will that provide, and in what range do we expect answers to land? Is that something you can speculate about, Michael?
Yep. So I'm just going to share my screen here. So
remember, we're live streaming.
Yep. All safe. So with the solution validation with the branch rules, initially the initial MVC had this approach of having like the name of the branch or the rules, and then kind of like a high level kind of detail. And there was also some other explorations done in the past prior to me joining the team about having even more information. I guess my question, or like what I'm curious about, is is there a version of this that makes sense to display as the read only? And from here, if I wanted to say edit, like what's that path to edit? Like, do we need to have this, or will people understand, oh, if I want to change the protected branches, I'll just go to protected branches, or would we need to add some links for them to navigate to the current area to edit the branches, edit protected branches? And what I pose that question as, like, is it necessary? Because if we do something like that, then we'll probably have to introduce something like anchor links to the settings, because at the moment there's no way to link to a specific area within a settings page. So that's that question here. There is another exploration of this where clicking on this displays the editing form that was proposed. The reason I proposed the idea to kind of scale back was there was a lot of questions on how we could edit and change the different branch rules, and like, you know, can there be multiple branches using the same rules and stuff like that? And it kind of confused me and raised a lot of questions. I was like, can we just scale it back to read only and jump to the current areas of editing to edit the rules? And this kind of consolidated view would only show the organization of, like, here's all your rules, but if you want to edit, you go somewhere else. And over time, we would bring those views in. So that's what I'm thinking about right now. I guess the question I have for everyone here is, are there more questions that I should be asking? Are there things that we should add to this?
I do have one thought. I was in my discussions with when Joe and I were talking, actually. This is a big change, and as we know, you know, sometimes the customers are using things in unexpected ways, or, you know, sometimes people just don't like change. I think what I've seen, it looks like a big improvement, but, you know, there's kind of like there'll be a mental migration needed, and we don't have at GitLab, we don't support A/B testing. However, we do support feature flags, and as I understand it, we can do feature flags at the group level. So this is kind of also an engineering question as to complexity. As part of the validation, could we consider having some type of, you know, group level feature flag that would be, you know, selected users could opt into, and then we could gradually roll these features out and get like a pre-validation of the change, or, you know, people could opt in at any time. And what's everyone think about that?
I think feature flagging makes sense for this, and going with the organization approach of displaying the thing rules only. It feels contained, but I don't know what that would entail in the back end or anything like that.
Yeah, it might be complicated on the back end. I'm just thinking sometimes competitor products, you know, they have a little thing and it says, oh, by the way, I've got a new feature, would you like to opt into it? So we don't currently have anything like that, but this might be some type of stepping stone. Or the whole thing could just be, because it would be good to, I think, because it's such a big change, to validate it progressively. But I'm not sure how to do that. Or we could just do lots of little changes. To go back to the original question, Michael, I think we could just have that display, that screen, and then have links back to the actual pages, maybe with a bit of additional help to describe what's going on.
So let me share again the screen. So one thing that you mentioned, Michael, is regarding these anchor links. So if we start with this super minimal one here, and then in my previous thought was that, you know, you could go here and it would send you, actually, where does it send you? Actually, should be two buttons. One button is about approval rules, and which would go to the general settings, approval rules, and the other one would go to, well, yeah, the other one, there are multiple options, right? There are push rules and protection, branch protection, right? Or are they in one? Are they in one section? So it would be, would it be a link that is not related to main, but it's basically a fixed link, the same link for all of these, right?
So currently there are two separate sections in the settings page which handle these settings. So we have the approval, merge request approval settings in one section, and branch protections or protected branches are a separate section. So there would need to be two links.
Mm-hmm.
And these would be the same links for each branch here, because we cannot deep link to
Precisely.
the main branch
Yeah.
protection and the main branch approval rules.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Currently.
So I think what might make more sense would be the other screenshot, the more detailed one, because that one breaks down the rules. Yeah. So
Yeah.
see the pencils there. I'm envisioning some kind of like the MVC to be more along the lines of this, where you have like the name of the branch, and then in each area where there's approvals, branch protection, status check, vulnerability scan result, that pencil, those are the anchor links to the settings area to edit for this MVC. That's I think this might be like too much information, but that's what I want to explore in the solution validation.
Well, with this, I quite like this view. It really shows everything. With this, could we consider it not a, you know, basically an enhancement, right? Like think about this as something like, for example, a dashboard or something. So we still have all the existing navigation, we still have the existing pages, and then with that, you know, then we could kind of let this sit there independently, and you could still use the old way if you wanted to. And in terms of the icon being a pencil, maybe it would be clearer if it was actually a link going, you know, to the, you know, because when you press a, you know, in this, you would expect that when you press a pencil you get a form, right? But we're not going to do that. And then that's a whole new feature actually, and we can see how that's received. And then of course the logical steps would be then to just start adding these, you know, adding a means to edit in place, and that might be a bit less painful than changing everything at once.
Yeah. So, but to confirm that I understood this well, so this link here and this link here, they would be the same for all branches in our super minimal MVC, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, it might even say approval rules, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
Because then it's going to a familiar page, right? Like for a new user, maybe it might be a bit more complicated because it's what's all this stuff. But for existing users, you know, we're only introducing one single new section. That is great, by the way. You know, like everything's just, it's almost like a report.
And so what would we test when we have the super minimal one here? Would we ask people? Would we see how much people go to this page? What would we learn from this?
All right. So for the solution validation, which we'll be looking at how we present the information there. So you can see some ideas here where there's like, do we show the names of the people, or is saying like 2 users sufficient? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if we have a good idea on that. That's good. Like these are the questions I have. Like, I don't know what's the best way to present this information. Is this layout the ideal way? I kind of like it because it's like clear on each of the sections and the point form of everything. I like that. But maybe there's another way to present it. And yeah, that's the biggest question that I have. Like, so what I was planning to do is present a question to someone, like, is this branch protected, and like which roles are being used there, as an example. I haven't refined this yet, but
Yeah, that's true.
and then the test would present them with this view, and they can take a look at it and give us an answer. And if there's not enough information to answer the question, that would help us understand which direction we might go in, spelling it all out completely, or we can provide a summary.
Yeah.
I'll just call out, we've got 10 more minutes in the meeting, but so in order to supply this with what it needs, were we still just talking about the read-only endpoint? Is that everything that would be required from the back end, as far as we know? Maybe that's a question for
I
Andre.
believe so, yeah.
Okay.
And that means if in this validation, we want to mainly find out, should it look more like this? Should it look more like this? Is it maybe something in between, or do we show names and things like that? That means Joe or someone in Sean's team could continue the work on the initial scope of the MVC, because that would mainly affect everything that happens after pushing this edit button, because that would go then on a branch specific page that would be about editing approval rules, branch protection, and stuff like that. So would you guys agree that this is the conclusion, that the team can just continue working towards the original MVC once they have done the work for the minimal MVC?
Yes, that sounds about right, and like how I envisioned it.
Okay. I mean, from the back end, now that we're also particularly, we've descoped it a little bit. We're actually just providing API endpoints, and in fact, a lot of the heavy lifting will be on the front end. So once we've kind of done those endpoints, they could be extended or whatever. But yeah, I agree with continuing. They could also be used by other parts of the system. I mean, they're endpoints. So yeah.
And are these GraphQL endpoints? So could we, from the front end side, do basically any of these things, like this super fancy one with individual names, and the other ones as well? Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I think the only thing we won't be able to support is the security policies, because they have their own UI, right? It's actually the security policies are contained within a separate repository, so that needs its own UX. However, the rest of these we can do through Graph Endpoints.
And when you say that, you mean for the original MVC, right? But we could work beyond that to also facilitate that we can have the security policies in here, right?
Potentially, but it would need quite a lot of thought around how we do that.
Okay, good. Yeah, we anyway put that in the post MVC. So that means for security, so we probably need to deal with a design that allows a mix of advanced functionality where you can directly go to edit, and one where you just have a link to go to that place. So we need to think that will have a mix for some time. Okay, so let's write down the conclusion. Conclusion. actually not only the backend team, but development team.
Well, traditionally the backend team has been the blocker for the front end team with all this type of work. So if we can get these endpoints out, then front end can work at their own pace.
Okay, then let me make backend team can continue with original after they have delivered the super minimal MVC endpoint for listing the branch rules.
By SM you mean the read only endpoint?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's for list. Yeah, that's read only. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, great.
Okay, good.
Shall we continue?
Yeah. So quickly, just for your information, tomorrow there will be a showcase, a product direction showcase, and I will be presenting the source code direction. I've been doing a lot of work on the direction page, also with the goal to provide a vision by the end of the quarter. Yeah, you're most welcome to join that. I will, if it's not in your time zone, I will anyway share the recording in our Slack. Then the next one, and any feedback, even before to that source code direction page is welcome. Yeah, then as you know, I put the OKRs in LA. Unfortunately, the front end Andre is not here, so maybe the question doesn't make that much sense because I talked to Sean already that we need to align that. Then the next question, and also for front end, I believe, whether we do a release post for the Git blame directly from the file view. But I'll have to share that and discuss that with Andre. Then Sean, yours is next.
Yeah, so Igor has started a blog post about the reasoning behind what we did with GitLab SSHD. He's asked me for some feedback, and then Amy will send it. Oh no, sorry, it won't be you. It's actually the blog post people.
I've already posted a comment in there saying I'm happy to help.
You are so awesome. Yeah, well, I think you probably got a better understanding of how it all works and everything. So yeah. So that's great. I'm happy to see the engineers do exciting things like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that was his idea. I didn't suggest that. And so hiring update. So we have 2 confirmed hires who accepted contracts, 2 senior engineers for source code backend, one starting on the 30th of August and the other one is starting on the 26th of September, which is great. Both, one's in Canada, I believe, and the other one's in Brussels. And then we have an offer presented to an intermediate backend engineer who's in also in Europe, and we're just waiting to hear whether that person will accept or not. So great news. We're ramping up the team, and in another quarter or so we should have a lot more capacity.
All right.
I have mixed feelings about that, but yay.
Tell me, what's the mixed feelings?
There are more of you and still only one of me.
Oh yes, that's true. That is true. Yes. Yes, it's going to be a big team actually.
Yeah, that's great.
There's only one of me too, maybe.
All right. Yeah, those are great news, both of these things. Are there any other topics that you would like to discuss? We have 2 minutes. No? All right. Good. Then I wish you a great night and a great day.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Here's all. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.